So the Satanic Temple claims that the Texas abortion bill is against their religion because they have a religious right to abortion rituals. You heard that correctly, abortion ritual. The ritualistic slaughtering of unborn children for Satan. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first installment of Populism with Pedersen, the very basest, very epicest show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts, and also YouTube, of course. I'm Jacob Pedersen, and welcome to the show. This is the first episode. No clue how to do things. We're just making it up as we go along. I've got a lot of things planned for this episode. I've got a lot of things planned for the future, and hopefully this can become a really cool show. So let me first give you the quick rundown on how things will go. The show will be split up into segments. I have no clue how long each segment will be because I just don't pre-plan that. So each episode might be like a different length, that's cool. That's chill. You get to, you get surprised by how much content I give you. I'm hopefully gonna have on some guests. I'm looking for guests right now, but that's probably not going to be for a little bit until I get established. I get a little rhythm. I get a routine going. There's going to be about 3 to 4 topics per episode, and then the clickbait topic will be, I'll have timestamps in each video so you can skip around. And hopefully this will be a once a week thing. I'm going to really try to get this out every Thursday. That's what I'm going to try to do. If I don't end up getting it out every Thursday, that's on me, and you can bully me as much as you'd like. Because I definitely need it. I need the motivation. But yeah, it might be audio only. I'm still figuring out if I want to start incorporating graphics. It's a lot of work, and I like the audio only format. So this one's gonna go audio only. We're gonna see how it goes. So it's a great show to listen to while you're doing the dishes, or while you're writing a script, or while you're, playing a video game, something nice in the background. I'm still going to be doing based edits. I use based unironically now. That's just how bad it's gotten. Speaking of, I'm going to be doing a small video series. This is also coming up on memes, and I'm not going to spoil everything, but it's going to be interesting. So, this show will be available on basically every podcast platform. That's my big plan. And it's already on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and a few other things, Radio Public. So if you're listening to it from there, thank you for checking out the podcast. Last thing before I actually start the episode, on Anchor, which is the platform that I use to publish my podcasts, you can actually send in voice messages, which I can listen to, and you can send in your criticism, your comments, your reviews, whatever you'd like. You can send in death threats, maybe, and depending on how good they are and how vulgar they are, I'll put them on the show. If they're vulgar, I might not, because this is a Christian show, because I'm just kind of a gamer like that. So, let's get started. Afghanistan. We probably, at least now, everyone listening to this, at least now probably has a vague concept, at least, of what's going on in Afghanistan. We pulled our troops out. The Taliban is back running things, and it got a little messy. So we that's what we do. That's what everyone should basically know. So the deal is President Trump wanted to remove us from Afghanistan, which is good. I like that. I hate nation building. We should have been out of Afghanistan 18 years ago, when we killed Osama bin Laden. And we all know we've been there for the last 18 years because of nation building. And it's stupid because guess what? In the Middle East, nation building's not going to work. They just don't work that way. They don't care about democracy. They have their own way of doing things. And that's chill. We should let them do things their own way. It's just funding for the military-industrial complex, and our oil industry. So, after we left, which we did, we kind of left under Trump, and then Biden fully just like yanked the cord pretty much, and we got most of our troops out, except we left apparently like 1,500 people behind, and then the number switched to like 300 people, and then 800 people. So we have no clue what's going on right now in Afghanistan, pretty much. Like, the Taliban took over in about 48 hours, and then they released videos of them eating ice cream and going on carnival rides and failing to use gym equipment. That's basically what happened. Like, a bunch of people who don't know how to use gym equipment and who have never rid the bumper cars defeated our military and the military we trained, the Afghan National Army, which, if you've seen that video of their training, they literally could not do jumping jacks. So we weren't training them. And at first I thought it was a fake video, but like there were actual like generals who were in Afghanistan who were confirming this. The Afghan National Army does not know how to fight. And believe it or not, a lot of people in Afghanistan, including people who were in the Afghan National Army, believe in what the Taliban is doing. They believe in Sharia law. Like, that's just the way things are there. And there's no changing that. So, as things started to heat up, as we were trying to get people out frantically, there was the suicide bombing in Kabul airport. And then ISIS took credit for it. So now ISIS is apparently back. And it's getting all kinds of messy, basically, in the Middle East. It's getting all kinds of messy. Israel's also getting in some trouble with Iran and Iraq and Syria. But that's a whole other story. And then, of course, everyone heard about the story about the military dogs that we left behind, which now, so the only media that's still in there is Russian state media, so like Russia Today, pretty much, and I think Sky News, like their Moscow division or whatever. Basically, the only news that's still there is the Russian state media. They're the only ones the Taliban is letting in. So in an interview with Russian state media, one of the Taliban generals basically said, hey, we called the Kabul Animal Patrol and we're rounding up these dogs and we're creating a facility for them and we're feeding them and we're training them. So they're playing this to their advantage because everyone's mad that we left the dogs behind, regardless of political opinion. You know, like, everyone loves dogs. If you don't love dogs, you're a sociopath. Everyone loves dogs, and the dogs got left behind, and they're cute because they're dogs. Even though they're trained military dogs and they'll bite your face off, they're still pretty cute. And we left them behind. And now the Taliban is taking that, and they're like, hey, we can get so much good publicity off of this, because already the English government, an English news outlet basically said, the Taliban are sentencing these dogs to death for war crimes or whatever. Some really stupid article, which wasn't true. And the Taliban's like, no, we're rounding these dogs up and we're feeding them and we're taking care of them. And half of me is like, I know they're playing into this for propaganda. Like, that's all it is. They're just doing it to make themselves look good because everyone wants the dogs to be safe. And then the other half of me wants the dogs to be safe, so I'm like, hey, at least they're not, like, dead. And, at least they're not dead. That's a good thing. The dogs, I mean, they're being used against us now. But, oh, well, now actually the Taliban's our ally now against ISIS. So now it's the other way around. And now we're talking about funding the Taliban to fight ISIS. So it's getting wacky. Obviously, we pulled out of Afghanistan very poorly. We could have done this better. And listen, no matter which way we did, there was going to be some shakiness when we pulled out of Afghanistan. It's a war zone. The Taliban's going to get back. But then, now there are rumors that the Taliban was actually planning on a complete peaceful exit, but we declined because we're stupid. And honestly, this could have all been avoided if we had went in 20 years ago, killed Osama bin Laden after 2 years, and left. What that says is, hey, you guys touch our stuff, we're going to come in and we're going to bring justice, and then we're going to leave. Because, what you need to do in a situation like this, and I know the neocons right now are like, oh no, but we need to defeat the terrorists before they can even come and strike. Listen, if there's a terror attack on U.S. soil, here's what you do. You go into the other country, you round up the terrorists, you try them, then you leave. Because guess what? The normal people are just going to get mad at you. They're going to get mad at you if you stay and you try to nation build. Then that creates more terrorists. That doesn't create less terrorists. And then that creates more terrorists for us to go back in and stop before they come. It's just a never-ending cycle of war hawkness. All you need to do is make your presence known. Be like, hey, don't freaking mess with us, or else we're going to come in and we're going to send Navy SEALs to kill you and all your associates, and we won't touch your stuff. You can still govern yourself however you like, because that's how it should go. We don't need to be telling Afghanistan how to govern themselves. They don't care about democracy. They don't care about living in some perfect liberal democracy. Most people in Afghanistan support Sharia law. That's just the way things are there. There's no reason for us to be going in. And I know it's like a traditionally liberal talking point, but we shouldn't be messing with the way they work. They work differently. And it's stupid. And it's just another way for neocons and warhawks to make money and stay in office. But it just angers me. Because, like, the Afghans used to at least have some respect for us. Like, people used to have respect for the strongest nation in the world and the bastion of freedom and of liberty. But then we started messing with everyone else for money. Not even for, like, not for nation building and for money. We were just colonizing. We were just being stupid, and we were putting our foot where we shouldn't. We were stepping into the wrong soil. We should never have gone to the Middle East. I mean, excuse me, let me retract that. We should never have stayed in the Middle East. We should have gone, and killed Osama bin Laden. That's cool. Like, we should be killing the terrorists who attack us. And then we should have gotten out. Because what it's done is it's just produced more terrorists who are angry at us for staying and messing with their stuff. And I think I've reiterated that point enough. So to move on, so this whole ordeal could be used to put us back in Afghanistan, especially with the ISIS thing. And that's where it kind of looks like it's going. But the darker side of this is it could be used as a way to start a war on domestic terrorism. You've seen the FBI ads. They're pushing, domestic terrorism. Now, watch out on religious holidays. Watch out for people who are questioning the election, for people who are questioning COVID lockdown measures, all this sorts of, all these things which have literally nothing to do with terrorism. Like maybe it makes sense for the FBI to be like, hey, keep an eye on your neighbor who's buying a ton of fertilizer but doesn't own a garden. That kind of makes sense. This is a joke for legal reasons. That's completely a joke. But basically, we've seen the FBI getting more and more diligent about talking about domestic terrorism and white nationalism and the Proud Boys and this and that and this. January 6th this, January 6th that, Capitol insurrection. The media's been talking about this for literally, 8 months? It's been 8 months. Non-stop talk about January 6th. They're still running stuff about Trump and January 6th. It's been 8 months. Even literally the worst terror attack on our home soil, 9/11, wasn't talked about for 8 whole months. They brought it up, but it wasn't the main story for 8 months after it occurred. And I feel like it could have been. But January 6th, a bunch of, as Elijah Schaefer likes to put it, a bunch of grandmothers touring the Capitol building, that gets talked about for 8 months. Non-stop. Media constantly bringing back up Trump, insurrection, January 6th, Proud Boys, white nationalists, fascists. And then they stay silent when Portland and Minneapolis and San Francisco and Philadelphia and New York City are burned down by Antifa and Black Lives Matter protesters. They stay completely silent. I can point out the hypocrisy all I want. It's not going to do anything. And they're just going to censor me more and call me they're going to call me all the names. I can continue to talk about this. It'll do nothing. Because what they could potentially do. I don't want to say they're planning this, because that would make me look like a crazy schizoid. But what they could potentially do with this is shift the view to domestic terrorism. The white nationalists, the Proud Boys. January 6th all over again. And even with what happened with the truck bomb in the Capitol recently, where a man said that Joe Biden had 12 hours or however long to resign, and he had bombs in his pickup truck. And literally, you look at the video of this guy put out. Every single comment. This is a false flag. This is a false flag. False flag operation. How many more false flags will there be? I mean, there are going to be more. I can't say anything because I'll get censored. But that truck bombing definitely didn't seem legit. And we haven't heard anything about the guy who was allegedly in this video. He's just disappeared. Listen, they're targeting American patriots. And they're painting us as Nazis, as white supremacists, as insurrectionists, and as domestic terrorists. And this is what has always happened. This is what happened in every communist country. This is what happened in fascist Germany. You paint the opposition as the root of all evil and as evil people, and they're going to try to take over your way of life and the government, and they hate you, and they believe they're superior, and they control everything. Blah 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 blah. Get every major institution to say that, and then people will start to believe, hey, the opposition here is subhuman. They are less than human. It is fine if you go and put them all in camps and kill them. That's how it goes. And it sounds like it would never happen here. But it never it never sounded like it would happen in communist China or in the Soviet Union or in Germany. You never thought that one day you're just a normal guy, farming or owning a business, raising your family, and then in a year everyone hates you and believes you're the cause of every single problem they face, and that you should be killed en masse. And that's just how it always happens. They're targeting patriots. It's a bit of a schizo pill. It's a bit of a black pill. And that's just honestly all I have to say on the issue. Things can potentially get much, much worse. They can get a lot better, but they could also get much worse. And there's a lot of things that right now are in the possession of the left that they can use easily against us. They've already labeled us all sorts of things. We're only like one label away from being the root of all evil. We already kind of are the root of all evil in the eyes of these people. We're very close to being second-class citizens, pretty much. Okay, let's move on from Afghanistan. Let's bring it back home, and let's check in on Texas. In Texas, a new bill was passed that bans abortion if a doctor can detect a heartbeat. And that means the mother, if an abortion is performed, the mother and the former mother who took part in the abortion and the doctor who performed the abortion will both receive a jail sentence. So, obviously, the progressives are very triggered by this, to use the 2012-2016 term. They're very triggered by this. Libs triggered compilation Texas abortion bill. And they're basically protesting this. This is funny. Obviously, killing babies is not chill. And if you believe that it's not a living thing, when right at conception, when it is conceived, like, if you don't believe that, you're just wrong. You're just wrong, and there's no science to back you up. The science does not back you up. Okay? Life is formed at conception. A baby is formed at conception. There's no denying it. There's no way you can say, oh, well, no, it doesn't have conscience. Any moral argument you try to make for why a baby who is not born yet is not alive just ends up being morally reprehensible. And any logical argument you try to make ends up logically flawed. Because there's always another example that would fit into that category. Like people in a vegetative state. Or people who, and even if you say, oh, well, we pull the plug on people with a vegetative state. Well, listen, the thing about that is, I'm just ripping this directly from Matt Walsh at this point. He made a really good argument. With a baby, you know when it's going to gain consciousness, when it is born. And however long between that moment and when it is born is how long. Now let's say your grandfather was in a coma. And let's say we knew for a fact that in 1.5 months he would wake up. For a fact, he would wake up. it is morally reprehensible to take him off of life support, even if he's not conscious. And that's what, with babies, you know exactly when they are going to gain consciousness. So when they say, oh, well, we pull the plug on people in vegetative states, we don't. That doesn't fit in this case. Because we know when the baby is going to gain consciousness. We know that they are not yet... We know that they are in a state where they will be conscious. Like, it's morally reprehensible, is the fact. It's evil. Killing babies is evil. So, women, the progressive women in Texas are protesting this by literally practicing abstinence. It's pretty hilarious. Let me read this tweet from Betty Midler, I believe. Betty Midler. Yeah, it's Midler. I don't know. They're verified. It's a blue check mark. Betty writes, I suggest that all women refuse to have sex with men until they are guaranteed the right to choose by Congress. This received 108.7 thousand likes. And yeah. So they're practicing abstinence. They're refusing sex as a protest to us saying, hey, you can't kill children just because you had unprotected sex. Like, literally disregarding rape and incest, which make up like a minuscule fraction of abortion cases. So that argument's already off the table. Because listen, the vast majority, like 90 to 95% of people who are getting abortions are doing so out of the convenience of not having a child and not having to go through pregnancy. Okay, like rape and incest make up literally not even 10% of all cases of abortion. It's just not. The outliers do not disprove the overwhelming majority. So, logically thinking, when we're in a culture that disapproves of slut shaming, in this like weird feminist culture where we say that women should like sleep with 10, 15 guys, which is disgusting. Like we're basically just removing the traditional family structure, and we're removing abstinence until marriage, and we're saying that it's empowering for women to have sex with a lot of men who are only having sex with them to take advantage of them. And these women are they are partaking in the act which is designed to create life, and then they are annoyed when it creates life, and they believe that it is an inconvenience to them, and so therefore they have the right to kill a living thing because it is an inconvenience to them. Okay, that's the whole argument. It's a disgusting, evil argument, okay? And so, they're just doing what we wanted in the first place, which is just not having sex with... they're just not doing the thing that would result in them needing the abortion, which is just what we wanted in the first place. You literally... they're so evil and twisted that they believe that doing something which is morally correct, which is not having sex every single freaking day with people who you are not married to, is somehow a big protest. We're not on the same page. We're not like you. We see the difference between your average conservative trad, Christian girl and these disgusting monsters who believe that killing babies is their constitutional right. is your average Christian trad girl values sex so much that she partakes in it for its designed purpose, which is the unification of a man and a woman to create a child. Okay, so literally, the whole thing, the whole protest here is exactly what we wanted in the first place. They're just practicing abstinence. It's great. It's fantastic. Keep protesting. Looks like a lot of people have been protesting their whole life. So we win either way in this scenario. It's pretty cool. And in the end, we will win because we will just logically, like, they're the ones who are killing their babies. We're the ones who are having a lot of babies. We're just going to out-reproduce them. Which is why they have to, of course, take over the educational institutions and indoctrinate your children. That's a whole other episode. I should cover that soon. There's probably going to be an APU video on that. Speaking of, I'm actually part of the APU writing team. I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose that. It's pretty cool. We're writing some cool videos. Go subscribe to American Populist Union. Because I'm a populist show and they're a populist show. And yeah. And not like the weird power to the people populism, but like the actual populism where we hate the stupid elites. And we believe the American worker should come first. So, let's continue. Yeah, we're gonna outproduce them because they're killing their children. And I don't want to. Okay, so the Hispanic population. Listen, I know this is gonna sound, oh, this is racist. I mean, they're known for having a lot of children. That's just the way things are. They have big families. It's cool. I love big family. So do Italians. Italians also have big families. Hispanics traditionally have bigger families. Hispanics also happen to be very socially conservative. So I'm going to go on a mini rant here. We need to start appealing more to the Hispanic population because guess what? They're going to outnumber like the white people in a few years. And that's a whole other, like, the stupid conspiracy theories about like the white replacement are actually kind of coming true. And I'm not like a QAnon white nationalist, so I don't super care that much because most of the people that are replacing white people, as they say, are Hispanics, and Hispanics are by large just socially conservative. Like, that's chill. I love the Cubans, and listen, they're economically a bit more authoritarian. So what fits that description? Right-wing populism. That's so crazy. I wonder what I wonder what a lot of conservatives nowadays are. Well, Donald Trump is a right-wing populist. He's economically populist and socially conservative. That's crazy. Ron DeSantis. That's crazy, bro. Maybe it's because that's the future of conservatism. Anyway, mini rant, just Hispanics have a lot of kids. Appeal to Hispanics more. They're what saved Texas from turning blue, believe it or not. The traditionally super blue southeast, like the little tip of the Buddha, Texas, it's right up by Mexico. Like, it used to be all blue, now it's red, thanks to the Hispanics voting for Trump. It's cool. And we like our Hispanics. It's so true. We love our Hispanics because they're cool. They get us votes, and the stupid white nationalists can go. The thing is, like, we're gonna have to do like this super mega team up with like the Asians and the Hispanics and the white people, because they're already labeling. They labeled Vince Dow an immigrant from Vietnam. They labeled him a white nationalist. They labeled Larry Elder a black guy. They labeled him a white supremacist. So, we're all gonna get labeled bad things. They're no longer just targeting the white people. They've already been targeting the Asians too, but now they're targeting the Hispanics. So it's crazy. They're trying to start a race war, and it's not gonna happen because I have black friends. Take that, libs. I'm gonna get Sim on the show. Third chair host of Morons Talk Politics, Sim. My, the black and indigenous person of color correspondent. So take that, libtards. Freaking they're the real racists. That's a stupid talking point. I like to use stupid conservative talking points ironically, so just keep that in mind. I have like a weird dry humor, so not every joke I make comes with like a voice, like the tone of my voice change, so sometimes I make jokes that don't sound like jokes. So it's up to you to pick and choose which of my valid arguments you think are jokes and which of my jokes you think are valid arguments. Okay, last thing on this Texas abortion bill. This is fairly recent, okay? The Satanic Temple. Man, I didn't think I would ever have to talk about them. The literal worshippers of Satan. And okay, shut up, freaking liberal. Oh, but no, their ideologies, they just worship themselves. Yeah, that's evil. The worship of the self is evil. And it is satanic. And it is anti-Christian. And that's why they're called the Temple of Satan. Okay? The Satanic Temple recently came out with a statement in which they claimed that the Texas abortion bill, which, by the way, they're trying to turn into a law now. That Abbott is trying to reform it into a law. And I'm not the biggest fan of Abbott. I think he's a bit of a neocon. But I will say he's getting this right. This is one thing we need to do more often. We need to congratulate our enemies when they do something right. Like, we need to support that. Okay? Like, we can't just be against our enemies when they're doing something right just because they're our enemies. Okay? When they do something based, when Joe Biden does something based, we need to recognize that. So the Satanic Temple claims that the Texas abortion bill is against their religion because they have a religious right to abortion rituals. You heard that correctly, abortion rituals. The ritualistic slaughtering of unborn children for Satan. Okay, they are killing unborn children for Satan. If you're still pro-life or pro-choice after hearing that, rethink your life decisions. When the literal temple of Satan is saying the same things as you and on your side, you need to think, am I morally reprehensible as a person? Like, is this morally wrong? Just objectively, is this wrong? Okay, when literal worshippers of Satan believe the same thing that you believe, maybe, just maybe, you messed up somewhere when you were thinking through this. That's just all I have to say. And if you believe that, oh, well, I'm not an actual Satanist, it's just cool that they believe the same things that I do. Okay, you're just too far gone. You're just too far gone. Like, you're a borderline libertarian at that point. Okay. And then I have a little extra thing here. A little bit of an extra that I just wrote in at the last second. Because this happened, like, just last night. In Mexico, yesterday, they actually legalized abortion in one of their northernmost states. which kind of makes sense because it's the closest to the U.S. So, on the same day that they legalized abortion, they had a 7.0 earthquake in Texas, and you can look up some of the videos of it. It's actually really terrifying to look at, and you sort of forget, especially since I'm living in an area where there's like no earthquakes, but you sort of forget how scary an earthquake can be, especially if you're just seeing like the movie versions where it's like this crazy drama. Like, basically, earthquakes are no joke, and this was a 7.0 earthquake. Like, that's a strong earthquake on the same day they legalized abortion. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. That just seems a little sus. Seems a little suspicious. Seems like a mighty fine coincidence. Seems very interesting. Same day they legalized abortion, 7.0 earthquake hits the country. So, we're going to move on. We're going to move on from Texas to maybe the third worst place on earth, California. It's up there in not great places. California. Hopefully, I mean, I can't blame you if you haven't been watching the news. It sucks. But in California, they're holding a recall election. So Governor Gavin Newsom is being recalled. And it's a bit of a long story as to why he's being recalled. But it has something to do with his handling of, like, education during the pandemic. And it ended up with the parents who were voting Republican and the teachers' unions who were voting Democrat both being against him. So he had both parties, including his own, against him. So at this point, he's being recalled, pretty much. And Larry Elder, who's running as a Republican, he looks like he's going to be the next governor of California. The first Republican governor since Schwarzenegger, I believe. Which is funny. But Larry Elder, he's the best bet. Okay, for a Republican. He's kind of a rhino. He's kind of a libertarian. Okay, I will say he's a bit more of a libertarian. But when it comes to California, you get what you get. You can't get a big conservative powerhouse in California. There's no way a Ron DeSantis could be elected in California. Okay, it's just not realistic. You get what you get. So this is a good start. A rhino is pretty much all we could really afford to jumpstart turning California red, okay? And you'd be better off watching an election prediction channel about this, because I'm not great at the election kind of stuff. But I understand the basics. Okay, realistically, a real conservative would never win in California. Rhino and a neocon is our good start. So, because of this, like, they're terrified of Larry Elder. They labeled him a misogynist, a white nationalist, even though he's literally black. Like, they called him a white nationalist. Literally, here's this Los Angeles Times article. Column, Larry Elder is the black face of white supremacy. You've been warned. Okay, that's one of the stupidest article names I've ever heard, okay? That's pretty stupid. You know, as far as stupid articles, that's pretty stupid. So they're calling him every name in the book. Called him a white nationalist, called him a white supremacist. He's black. Keep that in mind. He's an African American. He's not white. He's not even passing white, as they like to call certain Hispanics and Asians who have, like, a lighter skin tone. He's not even, like, he's literally just an African American. There's no way he's a white supremacist. There's no way he can be a white supremacist. Logically, he cannot be a white supremacist. But it's funny. Now they're calling all sorts of things. They called APU, American Populist Union, they called it interracial white supremacist group. Because Shawshank Yalamachi, and I think I said that right, and Vince Dow are both Asian. Shawshank's Indian, and Vince is Vietnamese. And they founded APU. And of course, like, most of the APU guys are white guys. Like, that's just kind of the way these things go. But they called it interracial white supremacists. Multicultural white supremacy. It's crazy. It's stupid. And not even the liberal types are falling for it. Everyone knows it's a stupid blow at conservatives. So Newsom is scrambling, basically, to stop this recall election. He wants it ended. He doesn't want anything to do with this recall. Because he's, like, terrified of losing his spot as governor. So he's calling for people to stay home during the recall election due to COVID. And the race is extremely tight. Like, he's desperate. He's trying to appeal to feminists now. He had this pro-choice rally where he claims that Larry Elder believes that women are dumb. And then he began praising Elizabeth Warren, of all people. And he says, here's an actual quote. He says, "Women are smarter in politics, smarter in civics, they're smarter in economics. Women rule." That was Gavin Newsom at his rally. He literally sounds like a guy who hangs out with, like, feminist chicks just to get a girl, you know? "Yeah, I think women should be equal and stuff. We're just friends, Gavin." Yeah, I know. Like, he just sounds like a feminist shill. Everyone knows he's literally just lying through his teeth. He doesn't believe any of that. I mean, he's pretty misogynist himself. Like, he's had his fair share of sexual assault allegations, and misconduct. But every politician kind of has, almost every, not every. But yeah, he's basically screwed. Like, there's like a 0.0001% chance that he finishes this with his governorship. Like, Larry Elder looks like he's going to be... And for a while, it looked like it would be Caitlyn Jenner. It would be the Republican, like, front runner. But people quickly realized that nobody actually cares about Caitlyn Jenner because Caitlyn Jenner isn't a conservative. Like, Caitlyn Jenner is not even a Republican, basically. Anyway, let's move on to the final segment for today, the fourth segment. I know I didn't have a lot to say about California. It's just an update on the election. So this final segment will easily become my favorite segment because we're going to be going through a list of genders and sexualities and whatnot, and we're going to be dissecting that. So this is going to be funny. You get to listen to some made-up words for emo kids. And I'm going to try not to overuse the segment because I want to, like, stretch this out as much as possible. I want to do more with the show also. I want to do some experimenting. But in general, like, the rule of thumb will be, like, the fourth segment is the funny segment. It's the humorous, lighthearted segment. So, to start off, we know the standards. Heterosexual people, or as I like to call them, normal people, are attracted to the opposite gender. Homosexual people are attracted to the same gender. And this is a little less known, but it's like sort of common, I guess. Bisexual people, it's like when you're attracted to both of the genders. It sucks that I actually know this, but at least we know the tax-funded indoctrination, the public school system works as intended, teaching me about such important things as toxic masculinity and the 7 billion genders. Anyway, let's look at our 3 new words to call emo alt kids. The first one on this list I have is pansexual. It's not when you're attracted to, like, frying pans. That'd be funny, but it's not. It is defined as when you are attracted to all genders and or do not concern gender when you are attracted towards someone. So it basically means you like people based on, like, not their gender, their personality. Maybe? What does that mean? The premise of this is it's a way to subcategorize, like, your attraction to other people, your sexual attraction to other people. But this just means that you aren't attracted to people sexually, because you're not attracted to what's in their pants. You're not attracted to, like, what gender they are. Maybe you're attracted to their brain or, like, their personality. It's confusing. This is stupid. Let's move on. The next on the list is bi-curious. This is defined as people who are open to experiment with with genders that are not their own, but do not know if they are open to forming any sort of relationship with multiple genders. First of all, you should not be open to experiment in the first place. Abstinence is epic. Wait until you're married. To the opposite gender, preferably. Second of all, well, that's what marriage is. You know, there's marriage is between a man and a woman. Okay? Second of all, who the heck would want to be doing other things with another gender if they aren't attracted to them? Just say you're gay. Society praises you for it. There's no need to invent a new word for being a closeted gay person. It's just another term for the same thing. And yeah, this is just so stupid. This is stupid. Okay, let's go through the final one. Polysexual. Poly, the prefix meaning multiple. The definition for this one is when you are attracted to many genders. What does that mean? Isn't that the same thing as the pan one? What does that mean? Many genders. As far as I'm concerned, there are two, and two isn't many. And considering the last sexuality, we were able to stretch the limits of how many identities can be formed out of just two genders, so I wouldn't put it past them. But this totally defeats the idea of bisexuals also. And so does the pansexual one, because bi means two, which would imply that there's gender binary, meaning there can't be more than two. But poly and pan, the prefixes, or at least the prefix of poly, but the idea of these implies that there's more than just two genders, which there's not, because bisexual already implies that there's only two. And so does homo and heterosexual. So you know what? This is just a joke. This is just people making up names. Okay? This is a joke. This is stupid. Yeah, I honestly, this is stupid. Well, if you made it to the end, I congratulate you. You've lost several brain cells. This show is extremely amateur. This is my first episode. Keep that in mind. I don't know if I pulled it off, but I kind of went for the way I speak is sort of like Tucker Carlson, but I take longer pauses, and I fail to, like, actually communicate my words, so I do a lot of, like, before I actually talk. So that's something I need to work on, but that's just, like, the way I talk. I think way too hard about the things that I say before I say them, and then I overcorrect on that, in that I, like, don't think before I say half the time, and then I overthink the other half the time. So I have a weird way of, like, basically going through and talking about things. So if you're fine with that, then guess what? This podcast is for you. So I hope you still have your sanity after that. I hope these topics interested you. If you want to leave me a message on Anchor, do that. I'll probably play it on the show, as long as it's not vulgar. You can find me on any podcast platform and on YouTube as well. On YouTube, I also post based edits, and I'm going to be working on some small video series. Go check out American Populist Union. They're a non-profit. They're doing the good work They're fighting the good fight. And they make some really great videos. And I really want to have some of their guys on here because they're fantastic. So yeah. Thank you for listening or watching if you're on the YouTube version. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, follow or subscribe or whatever, like add it to your feed. Depends on which platform you're using. And check me out wherever you get your podcast. I already said that like twice. Have a great evening, ladies and gentlemen, and goodbye.